In the 14th chapter of John, Jesus very famously says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Welcome to one of our videos from St. Mark's and Episcopal in Dalton, Georgia. This is a very special one. This one is dedicated especially to those who are on the pilgrimage. We have about 25 church members are on a pilgrimage to Scotland. Several of them attend Sunday school here, and they will miss tomorrow. So this is a summary of what we'll talk about in Sunday school tomorrow, and hope that you enjoy it and get something out of it. This quote, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me," is often quoted about the exclusivity that Jesus is the way. In previous Sunday school classes, we actually talked about this passage may be referring to the journey of being a Christian after Jesus leaves the earth, and that it's not talking about going to heaven. In fact, in the previous things it says, "I go prepare many rooms." The actual Jewish word is dwelling places, which were more stays along the places you would stay on a journey. So Jesus may not be talking about how to get to heaven, but how we should behave on earth, and we should follow his example. The question for this week and for tomorrow in Sunday school, as we talked about last week, is believing in Jesus the only way to salvation? And that's a very important question for Christians to consider. And some say, well, there's no question about it. It says it very plainly in John. But there are other aspects to consider. Now, we as Episcopalians believe that Jesus is the way, the best revelation of God, and following him is the way to follow God. But the Episcopal Church also teaches us that God's love and mercy are beyond human understanding. And God is not bound by the way humans put boundaries on some of his words. Tomorrow in Sunday school, we'll talk about confessional universalism and confessional exclusivism, and also religious pluralism. So we have those things coming up, and you may hear more about those later, but I'm going to skip over those today for some time. But another thing we'll talk about tomorrow is in church, this idea is believing in Jesus the only way. Well, in church history, there have been a lot of other influences that we need to consider. Christianity is always learning from other groups and incorporating aspects of other religions into their practices and beliefs. And this goes all the way back to Paul in the 7th chapter of Acts. Tomorrow we'll talk about his speech on Mars Hill at the Acropolis in Athens, when he talks about other religions and talks about how people of other beliefs can evolve into Christianity. Constantine, when he became emperor and changed the Roman Empire to Christianity, integrated a large number of pagan practices into Christianity that we still do today. For instance, worshiping on Sunday. St. Patrick, very obviously, as I'm sure those people over in Scotland are learning, incorporated a lot of the early Celtic practices of worship of what they call pagans. I'm not sure they necessarily were pagans, but pagans into his Christian practices over there. Justin Martyr quoted Plato quite a bit and says that Plato's sowed the seeds of the word being of Jesus. And very famously, Thomas Aquinas, in the 1200s, used Aristotle to describe the Eucharist. So there are a lot of influences like that. And finally, we'll conclude tomorrow and talk about the 1965 edict from Pope Paul VI called "In Our Time," when he acknowledges a lot of the truths of Judaism and Islam. All this. So although we believe as Christians that Christ Jesus is the true revelation of God, and following him is the way for salvation, we also understand that the truths of other religions can help us to understand and to draw closer to God. And for this, we will say, thanks be to God, and I hope everyone on the pilgrimage has a safe journey.